Welcome to Corpse Club, the official podcast of DailyDead.com. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jonathan James, and today I am joined by Scott Drebit and Bryan Christopher. We are going to be talking Offseason, Stranger Things 4, and more. But first, I did want to talk about how much we did miss you, Scott. We had our live episode, and it didn't, even though we did record, it didn't feel right without you there. I did have flashbacks to Flashback and our first and only, at the time, live episode. And so we did miss you and Heather and everybody else.
We did all take our shirts off in your memory.
We did talk about it, but no, we did not take our shirts off.
And where was this again? Tell the fine folks at home.
Oh, this was in New Orleans. A few of us were down for the Overlook Film Festival.
They were. Saw pictures and everything on the internet.
I'm virtually caressing Scott's face right now because he looks very sad.
It's a true story.
Yeah, but it was good. I mean, not that you want to hear how good it was, but it was good. It was like the first time I've been out and seeing people in a long time. It was the first time I've ever seen Bryan in person. It was a masked and vaxxed event, so felt safe so it was good to get out for a little bit. But I'm looking forward to doing it again. Hopefully with you, Scott, and more people because we had such a great time.
This is true. We have the Calgary Horror Con coming up here in a couple weeks with Joe Bob and, Miss Darcy, as well as Richard Brake and, several big names. So that should be a lot of fun, but I know you guys won't come for that because...
Well, that is just about an 11-hour drive for me.
That's not bad.
That is not that far away.
That really isn't.
And I can just invite myself over to Scott's place.
Well, you'd have to stay here. Oh, no, this is starting to be a plan.
This might actually happen.
No, I don't know. No. No. But it will happen.
Oh, wow.
It sounds like he disinvited you. It does sound like
I want to be clear, don't come to my house.
That's what it sounds like.
If only for that the house is in disarray physically. The house is in disarray mentally and spiritually. It's just not the perfect time for a visit, but it will happen.
It sounds, but you could visit like off-site.
We could absolutely. But when I talk about my house, I don't just mean my physical house. I'm meaning my entire being.
I mean, stay out of Calgary.
That's what it sounds like.
It means Bryan Christopher is not welcome in Alberta, much less Calgary.
Oh God. If you know what, if you couldn't get into Alberta, I feel for you, son.
Well, you are always welcome to visit us and we will plan for the next Overlook.
Oh.
It was a good time.
Well, I won't now after that inhospitable reaction.
No. You'll be fine. You'll get over it. It's for your own good. Trust me. It is for your own good. Pow Pow is a wreck. So, did you guys happen to see any big fancy premieres while you were at Overlook?
We did. We saw quite. We didn't see as honestly. I did not check out as many movies as I wanted to. We had, because Overlook's always a mix of like immersive programming and movies, so that's kind of split in the middle for us.
Right.
And we just and I don't want to make you feel bad, but we just hung out. We just wanted to hang out together, so we did. Yeah.
Honestly, guys, and in all seriousness, go fuck yourselves. No, but in all seriousness, no, I do. I always, you know me, I always get a kick out of and wanting to hear how these things went. So, okay. Without giving any spoilers away, was there any one movie that like stood out for both of you, either of you together, separately?
I think the obvious one probably would have been Black Phone, but because it's going to be out soon, we did talk about it too a little bit. And we talked about Deadstream, but Deadstream was the one, or we didn't, right? I was going to go see it later that day.
Oh my God, yes. Oh,
yeah,
we need to talk about that.
So then we'll talk about.
There you go. You've hit oil.
We'll talk about Deadstream. So, Deadstream. Bryan had been saying, "Hey, you got to go see it. You got to go see it," and we had run into one of the directors, and
Winter, I believe.
Yeah, the day before, and just reminded me how much we needed to go see it. And luckily, there was a Sunday screening. And so I checked it out, and yeah, it was definitely. First of all, thanks Bryan for pushing me to see it. But yeah, it was great. It was definitely a festival film. It's about this influencer that like a YouTuber who's like not in good graces. Like he's had to do his like apology tour. He doesn't really believe it. Like he's this super unlikable character, but he's trying to like build back his reputation so he can make more money and like pretend that he's a changed person. And the way what he plans to do for his next video is like a live stream of going to a haunted house, and it doesn't go well at all. But they're able to like they have this unlikable character, but they're able to put comedy in there and horror, very like Evil Dead 2-ish. And it works so well. And the movie's funny, it's scary, it's got a lot of heart, and it's coming to Shudder pretty quickly. So like that was, I think for me, that was like the big surprise. Like that kind of stood out because I'm like, that was just a real fun time. And for for new filmmakers, like I said, you can see how much hard work was put into it, and how much heart the movie has. And it's just like, I can't wait to see what they do next as well.
And so then I was going to, sorry, Bryan, I'll just say, tell me if you ended up seeing some shorts after you say what you're going to say here.
No, I was just going to confirm it is filmmaking duo for Deadstream is a husband and wife team, Joseph and Vanessa Winter. It's just indie filmmaking, I think, at its best.
And shorts? Did you end up seeing any shorts? I know you cover a lot of that for Rue Morgan. So
I didn't get a chance just because we were kind of checking out a lot of the other live events and things like that. So yeah, I think we only saw like 3 movies total.
Yeah, we didn't. I think I might have seen a couple more, just because I caught the earlier one. I caught like Thursday night and Sunday evening, but I did not see any shorts because they had separate programming for it. What I've seen at other festivals, and like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like there's different reasons for it, but I've seen other festivals where they'll put a short before the feature, so it kind of like forces you to see it. Otherwise, you have to attend the block separately.
Yeah, in Calgary, they just do, or what they've done in past years is a whole day of like shorts, right? Just short after short, because they would have like 400 submissions, right? And then you whittle that down a little bit, and you end up with a lot of programming. So I know in past overlooks, Jonathan, you've been heavily into interactive game playing, etc. Was there any of that afoot at this overlook?
We did do some immersive gaming. They had, because of social distancing and whatnot, it's less of it. But they did have like some escape room type puzzles and like a long running story that went throughout like the 3 or 4 days that we did, where we had to try to like investigate like a satanic ritual gone wrong, essentially. And they had us kind of running around different parts of the city. So that was fun. And we always enjoy doing that. And we did get like an escape room box. We bought like it's almost like an escape room in a box, but it's made for Overlook specifically. So we did purchase one. We didn't do it at the event, but one thing I was going to actually say, if you want to do it, we'll find a time if you're interested as well. But we can do this escape room and just do it virtually. So you just do it over Zoom.
Now I'm kind of waiting for like, we're going to open up the box and half of it's going to be like, and now go to Canal Street. This would be where
they said you can do it. Here. They said you can do it at home, so I think we'll be good.
Okay, cool.
You can't catch a venereal disease when you play it virtually. So
you can if you believe.
There you go.
So yeah, so like I said, so that was a good time. The immersive stuff, Deadstream, but we also did, one of the things that we didn't talk about on the podcast, which we did, which I was happy about, was we sponsored a screening of Haxan or Haxan. It's like Witchcraft Through the Ages, and it celebrated its 100th anniversary. So they had a live score. So they had a band playing to it, and it's called Hear More, Think Less, I think is what the name of the band is. I think I got that right. And what they do is, instead of like having the score prepared ahead of time, that's a guitarist and two guitarists, bassist, drummer, they improv it. Some of them hadn't even seen the movie, but they're like known for this. So like imagine watching whether they're doing for The Shining, they're doing for this, and so like they have to kind of like anticipate where the movie's going. But if you've seen this one, it's like part documentary with these like scenes mixed in. So it doesn't have a traditional movie flow as you'd expect it. So it was actually quite challenging, but they did a great job. So yeah, and we sponsored that one. So I was really happy to do that. And we kind of closed out the fest with that. So that was a good one. And yeah, I think that was one of the highlights. I mean, and of course there were plenty of other things we enjoyed. We picked up, they had some cool merch. So they had like Overlook Camper merch from Super Yaki. So we got some of that.
Nice. And, how about trivia? I know trivia always goes over.
Oh, we did do trivia. We our team was the Cenobites. Because of course it had to be, and we did a great job. We tied a round, we won some rounds, and we did the Daily Dead name proud. I think there was only one round that tripped us up, which is like they give you the tagline and you have to. Was that the one? They give you the tagline. You have to name.
They give you the name of the movie and the like number of sequel, and you have to give the subtitle for it.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah, it was like Warlock. What's Warlock? What's the subtitle for Warlock 2?
Warlock 2 is Armageddon?
Yeah, I know, but we forgot in the moment. What about Urban Legend 2?
Final Cut.
See, there we go. We needed you. We got destroyed on those because in the moment we could. Well, it was not that it was just
the moral of the story, kids, is always have Scott when you go to New Orleans. Yeah,
the problem wasn't that too. It was also that there were. It was at a bar, so we did exceptionally well given the fact that there was a bar there. But no, we got most of them. I don't know, like 8. There were 10 questions for the round, so we got between 8 and 10 questions right on most of them. Besides that one. So yeah, Scott, we definitely needed you for trivia. And the thing too, because it's like what helped was all those rounds of final exam we did virtually. But of course, this time there's no multiple choice, so we did need all 4 of us.
Well, it was so nice to not. It was also so nice to not be on like that clock where you got to like do it fast.
Well, that's just it. When you said it, I wasn't on the clock, so I'm like, yeah, final cut.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I was there with you guys, it would have been. I wouldn't have got it.
Yeah, there were some good ones. So yeah, no, I was like I said, I was happy with that. So yeah, we did that. We went to some places for dinner. We had a nice sushi dinner. So there was that. I'm talking about all the I'm just looking at you sad because part of it's not so sad because fun. Yeah, but it's also because we missed you. I haven't seen you in ages. I don't know what's it been, 4 years?
No, yeah, I miss you guys too. No. Listen, it will happen. It happened for you guys, and it's a tsunami of goodness will come through soon.
Tsunamis usually aren't good.
But I said it's a tsunami of goodness.
And
Yeah.
as someone who lives in the Pacific Northwest, please don't say tsunami.
Okay, so we talked Overlook, and when we did promise our listeners some talk about off season, and I've been curious about it. I know you saw it, Scott. So what do you think?
I literally finished watching it just before we started talking. I watch a lot of movies in increments these days. I'm sure you guys have gone through that too. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have as well. So Off Season is the latest offering from Mickey Keating. He of Pod, Darling, is it called Panic Park? That doesn't sound right.
Carnage Park. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Carnage Park, Psychopaths. It's a good movie. It's a timely movie, only in the sense seasonally. It's a perfect summertime movie. It's about a woman played by Jocelyn Donahue who has to travel back to this remote island where her mother is buried, who was buried against her will. Well, I mean, she wasn't complaining about it while being buried because she was already dead, but she did not wish to be buried back on this island because out of the ocean many moons ago arose a man who cursed this town on this island, and her mother was a part of it. It's closing for the season. She gets there on the last day, her and her boyfriend, played by Joe Swanberg. Nice little Year Next reunion. And they are stranded on the island. Cue fog banks, cue the atmosphere of Messiah of Evil and Carnival of Soul. That sense of desolation and eeriness and quiet. It's a very well shot film. It's a very well acted film. It's basically Jocelyn Donahue going throughout this town, trying to find out why exactly her mother is connected to this town and how she can get off the island. It's like I said, it's really well made. Of the Mickey Keatings that I've seen, I think it's the one that I like the most. I think it's very suspenseful in parts, and it doesn't, unlike some of the other movies I've seen of his, which I found would kind of sag in parts. This is kind of quite taut and tight and well done. So I give it a recommendation to anyone who's looking for a touch of aquatic horror, a nice seaside shanty. Check out Off Season on Shudder as we speak.
It's kind of got sounds like it's got some The Shining vibes, just in terms of being at that location that's kind of isolated. I know that's not a title that you want us to necessarily invoke, Scott, but it's also fun to play the game of what is intentional, what's an intentional decision to make something isolated and lonely and kind of claustrophobic, and what is a way to get around COVID.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? And when it's well done, like this is, you don't sit and ponder those questions so much. A bad movie, you would have a lot of questions like that. This one's well done. I mean, is it low budget? Yes, but he's a very, very crafty low budget filmmaker. It looks like $100 million. You know what I mean? Even though I'm sure it's nowhere near that ballpark. I quite enjoyed it.
95 million tops.
It sounded a little like I just seen Dagon again. I haven't seen that in ages. Stuart Gordon, something like it. It sounds a little like that. Yeah,
a little bit of that. It's cut, but you're not getting. It's not a monster show. Okay, so you're not getting a grandiose displays of monster. It really is like H.P. Lovecraft, where it's like tell, don't show.
Yeah.
which I think works for the atmosphere of this movie really well. And like I said, it's a great central performance by Jocelyn Donahue, and I would love to see more of her, because it's great that she really is the whole show here, pretty much, and she's great.
Yeah, I'll have to make sure to check it out.
And I don't know why, I'm also kind of getting I think the idea of like the spooky kind of seaside town, or that kind of thing. I'm getting kind of Messiah of Evil vibes from it. That early 70s movie.
Oh,
where,
yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
town
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
basically
yeah.
ghouls.
Yeah, Messiah of Evil. It's got Messiah of Evil feeling. It's got a little bit of The Fog. It even has a touch of Italian of Fulci flavor to it in a couple spots. It's not like overt. It's not like hitting you over the head, that's for sure. The influence seems to be more of an American seaside nature than, well, I mean, so is Fulci supposed to be American seaside nature, but I mean the filmmaking, not the actual location. But yeah, it's a very assured a piece of filmmaking, and again, you can see the influences, but there isn't a lot of direct copy. I found it invokes a mood of a particular kind of movie that you just know when you see it. Dead and Buried
that was another one.
That was another one that came to mind when I was watching this. It would pair beautifully with Dead and Buried. I'll just say that.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to jump to Stranger Things, but when you were talking about Fulci, I was thinking immediately of a movie that I saw, which, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Scott, but I got the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee Collection 2 from Severin recently, and they have Uncle Was a Vampire, which is an Italian horror film from '59. Have you seen it?
No.
So you know what? I mean, well, we all have gaps, but like, it's because somebody will be like, how do you not know? But like, I didn't realize that Christopher Lee did a Dracula movie after, the first Dracula, Horror of Dracula for Hammer. And before he before he jumped into Dracula, Prince of Darkness, he did this Uncle Was a Vampire in '59. And it's like, it's definitely a comedy, but it's so interesting to watch because you have, this like hotel owner who kind of loses the hotel. He becomes a bellhop because he doesn't have any money and they give him that job. And at the same time, like, Dracula's got to leave his castle because it's getting torn down, or like the villagers are going to take it down. So he's got to find his only living relative, which happens to be this like bellhop who used to own this hotel. So like shows up and is like, I'm your uncle. And like, I mean, he shows up in a coffin, but like, it's Christopher Lee playing it super, super straight, being like, I'm here. And he wants to basically start kind of taking his victims, and he happens to bite the nephew. And then it turns into this almost like Jerry Lewis type movie where the nephew, who is like a good bit shorter than Christopher Lee and is like now running around like slapstick style as like a vampire. And he doesn't just bite like one woman in the night, he bites 30 women, and like their husbands or boyfriends are all like pissed off, and then they start chasing after him, and it just keeps like going from there. But it was like such an interesting movie because like, one, I had never seen it, and two, it was actually, I said, quite interesting. Like, I can't even imagine these days that like, I mean, imagine like a major actor who like kicks off this. Imagine like Gary Oldman, like doing Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then going from that to doing a Dracula, like Dracula Dead and loving it, like next. And that's what this was.
The biggest grin on my face is knowing you getting to see this Christopher Lee Dracula movie that you had. Well, I had no one had any idea. Like, it would be like, Brian, if someone said, "Oh, hey, they found a lost William Girdler."
Yeah, and it's like slapstick.
And it's like slapstick, right? That would be That's what you being so happy about finding this is just bringing me, it's sparking such joy. It really
Yeah,
is.
it was great. And yeah, so I was happy to see that. And there's one additional vampire movie in there. It was like the last one he played. Let me see. Let me want to make sure I got the name right. Dracula and Son, which is in French. I haven't seen that one yet. But that's after Satanic Rites of Dracula in the 70s.
That's okay. Dracula and Son is different from Old Dracula, right? Old Dracula was David Niven.
Yeah, it's different from Old Dracula.
Okay.
And but yeah, so there's one more. So so thank you, Severin, for putting out the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee's and doing the devil's work by restoring these, because I'm sure it was like a really shitty like VHS rip that probably people had and on YouTube, and now they had a 2K scan of this thing. I mean, it looked beautiful. And it was interesting because there was also this element, which you don't see a lot in vampire movies or Dracula movies, where it was kind of like a werewolf, like it was like a werewolf bite, where like the nephew became a vampire, but only at night. And then in the daytime, he had no recollection of what he had done. He didn't realize he had, bit 30 women. And he's back to his normal self, but he knows at night he's going to become a vampire again. So he like tells his love, like, hey, like he starts putting crosses up on the place. He covers her in garlic. He's like, got to protect you. So there is like, so they do kind of play with the vampire mythology as well. So it was interesting.
I don't know why, but when you said it was a nephew, I thought I was picturing like a 10-year-old. Like this 10-year-old kid, and like the reason like it was 30 women is because it's like that little kid energy where he doesn't know when to stop.
He acts like that, yeah, but no, he's like in his 30s or 40s.
Well, I want to see the one where it's the little kid going around town, like causing this vampire plague.
No, you're thinking of Peter Bark from the Italian burial ground.
Oh God!
Oh no! No!
I didn't say a 33-year-old man playing a 12-year-old.
But yeah, so yeah, that was, like I said, that was a treat. I saw that sometime over the weekend. I don't remember when it was. all the days are blending. But I have some more Christopher Lee movies to catch up on, so that's been really good. And I guess then I will talk about, because people are like, well, he said Stranger Things. I wanted to hear. So I finished Stranger Things 4. But before I get to that, Scott, I think you said you're working your way through Stranger Things and you've started season 2.
That's correct.
And so there's a lot of well, I'll keep spoilers to a minimum, but obviously when I mention characters that are alive, like they've made it to season 4.
You know what? I appreciate it, and quite honestly, I don't give a shit. So
that's perfect.
Feel free to spoil away, my friend.
Okay, so there'll be some light spoilers. It's been a 3-year gap between Stranger Things 3 and 4. I actually wasn't a huge fan of Stranger Things 2. I think, I've had some discussions. I think we did one with Tamika and Derek previously where we talked about it. And I felt like Stranger Things 2 was like them trying to do Aliens. I think it was like, instead of one Demogorgon, we're going to give you more. And it was just like, I was okay with it. I really did enjoy 3 though. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought there was a good energy to it, especially with the new cast members. And 4 has been fun. It's not over yet. They broke it up. So it's like volume 1 was like 7 episodes, and then you get volume 2 on July 1st, and I think it's going to be 2 more episodes on it to finish it out. And you might be like, well, why would you do 7 and 2? But the finale is like 2.5 hours. So it's like, it's its own movie. And I think most of the episodes were over an hour. Some of them clocked in at like 120, 130. So, I mean, you're getting like movie length episodes. But yeah, I mean, I think if you liked Stranger Things, if you were kind of on board for what they've been doing the whole time, you'll like this. I don't think they go in any significantly different directions. I think it's more about the characters. If you like the characters and the journey they've been going on, and like where that trajectory is, that continues to pay off. You can kind of see the world's building. I mean, it's all heading in kind of the direction I expected it to go. I would say that, for especially for horror fans, like I think there's a lot of I think there are a lot of Elm Street references. Robert Englund has kind of a cameo appearance in this. They say he's in it, but it's a small role, but you can see, like, I mean, they even reference Freddy Krueger throughout. This is definitely influenced by the Nightmare films. And I think this show this season is probably also the most like scanners heavy, because obviously with 11, there's been like the, what do you call it? Like the kind of scanner vibe running through the whole series, but I'd say this maybe more so than others. One of the interesting things that they do is that they divide the groups of characters for most of the season. So it's like 2 characters are off to find another 2 characters, or like 3 characters are off somewhere else. And so the one thing that this probably misses, and I don't think they're going to get to there by the end of this season anyway, is like that, like we're all together, we're all helping each other out like they did in the other seasons. Like they're all pretty far apart from each other. And I think, we do have another season to go. I don't know how long it'll take to get there, but they are going to do a season 5. So I feel like that's where they're going to do the payoff, knowing they have the extra time. But like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. If you haven't been on board for the first 3 seasons, like season 4 is not going to change your mind. But if you've enjoyed the 3 seasons, I highly recommend Stranger Things 4.
So I've always been, I think, a little conflicted about Stranger Things. There's a lot about it that I really do like. I think I've only seen like the first 2 seasons. And for me, it leans a little too heavily into the nostalgia factor, which partially irks me, because I think there's such solid stuff in the original stories that they're telling. Sometimes it feels a little bit like the nostalgia stuff is a crutch that they don't even really need. And another thing that I will say gets me a little cantankerous, that isn't the Stranger Things folks' fault, but more of a thing that annoys me about Netflix is people have seen me rant on Twitter more than once about the fact that like they're putting $30 million an episode into this show, while a lot of smaller stuff is getting dumped at the first sign of it not doing well. And so it's kind of one of those things where I'm projecting my own annoyances about like Netflix's struggles onto Stranger Things, which probably isn't super fair, but when has fandom ever been fair?
That's funny. Yeah, it's I think they've kind of taken into account the criticisms around, kind of leveraging the nostalgia as much as they do. Maybe I've just become used to it because other properties are kind of doing the same thing, or maybe they dialed it back. It didn't feel as in your face. And I do think in seasons 3 and 4, it feels a little more like they're doing their own thing. And I think it probably is the Duffer Brothers growing as writers, and they're directing many of the episodes. So I think that's probably them growing as creators and taking that feedback into account. I do think the best, everything that's created, right, is influenced by something else. And the goal is to kind of hide those influences, or at least, not hide them, but do your own thing to the point where people don't focus on your influences. And I think this season does it probably the best of all of them. I think they're, like I said, I can clearly see where they're trying to do the aliens thing in season 2. In season 3, there's like, a little more of like a Terminator thing going on. Here I called out like, scanners, and I called out Elm Street, and you can kind of see it, and they do reference it, but I feel like they're not like beholden to some of those same story beats that we see in those movies. But like I said, I also understand the criticism about it. I'll get off my soapbox, but yeah, Stranger Things season 4. I'm going to talk about what happened in the last 2 episodes when I see them. So look for a follow up in another week or so, another
Awesome.
2 weeks.
I will not have seen any by then.
Yeah, but you could catch up on all of them.
No.
You know what? And I have it's a sad story. So my mom was super excited to catch up on Game of Thrones before it ended. So she like binged multiple seasons like over like a 5-day period. So like she caught up on like all the seasons. She watched like whatever 80 hours of television. And then she saw the series finale with us, and she was so disappointed. She's like, I just spent my entire week watching Game of Thrones to get to this. And I'm like, well, how do you think we felt? Like we've been waiting years for this. But she did spend all that time. So, but you could do it, Scott.
Okay, but I won't.
But you could.
True, but it won't happen.
Okay. So Brian, we've talked about what Scott's been watching, what he's up to. We talked about what I've been doing, but it's been a little quiet over there. So
what do you get?
So I feel like I always set myself up for this, where I will complain about like big budget shit taking
That's all
over.
he does is bitch.
Like indie stuff, and like how the small guy gets swept away, and then I'll be like, well, what have you been watching?
No.
I've been watching Marvel properties. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk Ms. Marvel, which as of recording this, I've seen the first 2 episodes, and I really like it. I did read the first few, the first few arcs of the comics, so I'm familiar with the basic kind of the beats of the comics, and so I was interested to see what they were going to do with the TV show. And so far, it's showing a lot of promise. It is, for those who are unfamiliar, it is about. I don't know if she's the first Muslim superhero in the MCU, but she's certainly the first one that's had such a prominent role. Kamala Khan. She is a teenager in Jersey City who gets imbued with these powers, and there's already a bit of a difference between the show and the comics. In the comics, there's a lot of it's more kind of she stumbles on this mist that I think is connected to the Inhumans. Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you are correct. She's an Inhuman in the comics.
And so she gets these powers that allows her to shapeshift. She can get big, she can get small. Kind of one of the more iconic things is she makes her fists really big, and just a lot of really interesting stuff in the way they approach it. In the show, it's more tied to this bracelet that she finds that is seems to be connected with her family in some way, and the powers somewhat manifest the same, but they're more energy based. They do hint that it's not necessarily the power isn't necessarily coming from the bracelet, but the bracelet is kind of focusing and acting as a catalyst for the powers that she already has. So I'm very interested to see, like, is this going to converge with the way her powers work in the comics at all, or are they going to stay parallel? I'm sure there's going to be some, ways that they do stay parallel, but it's a fairly small contained story for the most part, at least in the first 2 episodes. It's this girl in Jersey City. You're learning kind of about her relationship with her family, with her culture in general, and it's at the neighborhood level. So we're seeing this stuff play out, similar to how you would see it in like Daredevil, or one of those shows where we're not talking end of the world stakes. It'll be interesting to see like how quickly things ramp up and if they get to that. But right now, it's really her just kind of navigating having these powers on a very small neighborhood scale. Like we're 2 episodes in, and the biggest set piece is her saving this kid who's falling out of a window. But that's not a bad thing. Like this is very much a coming of age story, and the girl who plays Kamala, Aman Vellani, is absolutely perfect. They could not have cast this role better. She is a lot of fun. She's really good at kind of navigating the awkward teenage years while still also being likable. And so I'm really enjoying this. I'm interested to see kind of where the future episodes are going to go.
Yeah, she is so natural in this. It's amazing because it's her first role, and and to lead a Marvel series, I mean, where you have a lot of seasoned actors who are taking on these leading roles, and interestingly enough, as you mentioned, it's kind of grounded. So most of the runtime revolves around and requires kind of her performance and you to be interested in what's happening to these characters. So it's a credit to the entire creative team as well for being able to make this a story that we're interested in. And and from the feedback online, for the most part anyway, besides trolls, it seems like it's being fairly well received. And for a character that's not super well known to people who don't read the comic book series.
Yeah, and it's, this is like, I would say 80% a coming of age story with like 20% of a superhero story in there. And I'm sure those weights are going to shift. But for now, I kind of like it that way. Like I like that the superhero stuff is kind of coming in drips and drabs, and we're really just kind of living with this character and with her family.
I also like how this feels very different from what we saw in Moon Knight, very different from what we're seeing in, we saw in WandaVision and the other shows. And what they've done is not only, it's similar. I would say they do it a better job of it than they did with the previous Marvel phases, where the Marvel movies were slightly different, but they all had, they all looked like Marvel movies, if that makes sense. But I feel like if you look at the cinematography and if you look at the pacing, the editing, the tone of like Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel, they're night and day different. And so I think that that's been really smart as well, because it would have been easy to get burnt out on Marvel TV. And I do think the Netflix Marvel movies all kind of had a very similar like style and feel. Of course, their goal was to merge them into the Defenders, which they did. But here, I think it was very wise to make these shows that feel very different from each other.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've been getting a little burnt out on the Marvel movies, which I think to a certain extent are a little bit kind of trapped by the fact that they do all kind of need to build towards the bigger story that the movies are going towards. But I do think they've made a wise decision in some ways. Yes, the TV shows are kind of lead ups for characters that are going to be in feature films. But like a show like Moon Knight is contained. Like you're not going to see necessarily Moon Knight show up in a bigger movie. They might find a way to get Oscar Isaac to, because it's sounding like he's kind of like on the fence as to whether or not he's going to do more of these. But I'm sure they could offer him something that would get him into. I think they've got like a special coming up. But all that to say, like they have been wisely letting these shows in a lot of ways be their own thing and be different tones. And for a little bit, it takes some adjustment because you're so used to kind of phase, that the first kind of three phases of Marvel being at least having that illusion of being so cohesive and that they're all going towards that one big thing and it was planned out for 10 years. Here, I think they're kind of letting it do what the comics did and letting these things take on more personality. So you might not like everything that they're putting out, but there's more chance that some of the stuff is going to connect.
And it's interesting. Oh, you go ahead, Scott.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, because I find with them all on the small screen, it sort of levels the playing field. So you end up having to focus on or what it is that stands out more, as you said, are the characters, are the stories. It isn't your focus is not going to be on the spectacle or the special effect necessarily. You tend to, when it's smaller scale, right, when it's smaller scale, then when it's smaller scale like that, then it kind of, levels it out.
And I think it's interesting because you have the Star Wars TV shows, and I don't know, Brian, if you're caught up on that, but like Mandalorian and Boba Fett, basically Boba Fett was like Mandalorian, like and a half, half of a season.
Season 2.5.
Yeah, they kind of put into Mandalorian. And Obi-Wan, I haven't finished it all, but it's like with a lot of the Star Wars stuff, and they did this with the books. They're like, you want to know about that like jazz player in the cantina? We're going to give you a story about him and explain how he was like, integral to the blowing up of the Death Star too. And that's not true. Unless it is. I mean, I know that they have a separate story for the cantina band, but I don't know if it leads into the explosion
Careful, man.
of the Death Star.
Don't be making assertions like that.
I know, right? But that's what they try to do with that. It's, and there is validity or like interest from people in doing that. They want to know like all the backstory for all the characters, and they want to know like what their motivations are, and like, and they have this whole expanded universe. But I think that is one of the problems that Star Wars is now trying to get itself away from, which is we've been so tied to like telling stories this way. We've been so tied to like Tatooine, which we don't need to see again. I mean, Star Wars is this huge universe, and it's how do you get away from that and keep people interested? And I think maybe too maybe it is at a executive or business level, there's a little bit of fear and like, should we get away from Tatooine? Should we get away from these things that people think of with Star Wars? And I think they're going to do it, but I think that's what's been hurting their ability to kind of expand into more movies and TV shows. Marvel isn't doing this, or at least they're doing it in different ways. So as you mentioned, Moon Knight, maybe he'll have a part in a movie, but it's a brand new character, at least as far as like the on-screen presence is concerned. They can wisely choose how they want to weave these characters in and out, or they can continue to live on the small screen. And they don't have to, and it allows you it allows them to tell more stories, not less.
And they're kind of having their cake and eating it too, where like, they're creating kind of these new stories, new voices, things like that. But then they're also like bringing back Kingpin and bringing back Daredevil. So they've kind of gotten so big, that the monopoly has just gotten to the point where it's like we kind of have carte blanche, which is obviously problematic in certain ways, but it's also creating for they're a little bit more willing to take these risks because they have more money than God at this point. So they're not quite as scared, it seems like, to take a few risks because they know that they can absorb that and pivot when needed.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what gives me. We're going to get a Blade movie. It's filming this summer. So we're going to get Blade. We're going to get Ghost Rider. I mean, that's a guarantee. It's just a matter of when. We may get Marvel Zombies. There's always little like hints. I mean, they had the What If Marvel Zombies, and they had like the little zombie like scene with like a zombie Iron Man and Spider-Man Far From Home. But we might see a Marvel Zombies live action. So don't you sigh on me, Scott.
Marvel and zombies?
Boy, they had a Marvel Zombies. They had a Marvel Zombies comic book series. Kirkman did it.
That is fresh.
Back in the day. It was fresh back in the day.
Okay.
Just wait. You're gonna be like, it's my new favorite show. You're gonna tune in every day.
I will never say that ever. I promise.
It'll be that good.
I promise
It'll be that good. It'll be all your favorite people.
I am so tired of zombies, man. Just tired of the dead, man.
Do you realize what site publishes your articles? No,
I know.
I'm just kidding.
If I see the word dead ever again, oh jeez.
I'm kidding. I mean, it is zombie fatigue is real. And I think that it's one of those things with Daily Dead where, a lot of people assumed back in the day we just covered zombies. I'm like, no, we cover all kinds of stuff. We just have dead in the name. But I think that the thing about zombies or vampires or whatever is, it's what do you call it? It's a roller coaster. Sometimes they're popular, sometimes they're not. It's really about, who can do something new with it. And there you go with Marvel Zombies.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Star Wars Zombies. There is a Star Wars Zombies book. There is.
Is there? Oh,
there
come
is.
on, man.
There is. It's like Stormtrooper zombies. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it happens. I think there's a Sith. It might be a Sith witch type situation. I'm just speculating.
That sounds like a Abbott and Costello routine.
I know.
Which Sith witch?
Yeah.
Which Sith witch on which?
Exactly.
Sith witch.
Yeah.
Oh, we are such nerds. Speaking of nerds, the new Star Trek, Strange New Worlds I like it because it's like the original series, and Anson Mount's hair literally looks like a tidal wave.
I have been wanting to see it. Yeah, I haven't seen any of the episodes yet. I am waiting to watch it with my mother.
Have you seen his hair?
But I've seen his hair, and it looks great.
It's spectacular. No, it's a great show. It really is like it's very much in the flavor of the original series. I'm digging it tremendously.
Nice. And I have to say, everybody's like, some people are Next Generation people, some people are Deep Space Nine. I've always been an original series guy, so I've been waiting for that. I've seen Discovery, not all of it. I think I've seen 3 seasons, and Discovery just hasn't really clicked with me. Like I like a lot of it, but it just hasn't kind of gotten me in the same way where like I need to watch it.
Yeah, I have not seen Discovery at all. Just decided to hop back on board with this one, and very pleasantly surprised.
Nice.
Well, I will say, actually, we just funny you mentioned, we just started Discovery, my wife and I, this week. My wife is a total Star Trek geek, and she is loving Discovery, and I'm enjoying it myself. I'm liking some of the different avenues. It's definitely got a little bit of a different flavor than kind of what you're used to from the previous iterations of Star Trek. Really like Sonequa Martin Green.
She's great.
The lead role.
Yeah.
She an interesting take. She is a human who was raised as a Vulcan. So Star Trek kind of really likes to toy with those characters that have conflicting backgrounds and things in them that are creating that kind of conflict and that turmoil. I think she does a really good job with blending those. And I've really been liking just they're kind of in some ways settling into that Star Trek formula of like an issue of the week. But this one seems a lot more serial than the other ones did. They're really focusing on telling like that season long arc. And of course, the Klingons are back at it again, at least in season 1, stirring up some shit. So they look very different than they have in previous.
Very different. No hair.
Which I'm sure caused they basically took the ridges that you're used to from Klingons and just keep them going all the way back to the back of their head.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the design. Yeah, I had no problems with it because they've changed over the years. They were very human looking in the original series. They didn't change them till the movies.
I haven't seen. Have they ever tried to retcon explain how that progression is happening, or
I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did it somewhere, but I'm not aware of it myself.
No, I just like the pretty primary colors. And the machines that go beep. Yeah.
Well,
that's funny. Yeah, I mean,
and the attractive people.
How far are you into Discovery?
Halfway through the first season, so we're I think just starting to dabble into like multiverse shenanigans.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting because I think originally Brian Fuller was attached, and then due to scheduling, he had to drop. And so they have different showrunners who jump in throughout the seasons. And so maybe, in some ways, I guess this kind of feels, to me anyway, it feels a little like Walking Dead, where it's like somebody has a vision for where they want to go, then somebody takes it over and they have a vision for where they want it to go, which is different, and then somebody else takes it over. So it's felt a little shaky to me. If to be honest, like I think I enjoyed the direction they were going with the first half of season 1. And I think I was so used to the first half of season 1 that when it
That's
switches,
literally where I am right now.
that's why I hesitate to say it. But when they switch, I wasn't on board because I liked the more like, I felt like season 1, the first half was tackling issues that to me seemed more like in the spirit of Gene Roddenberry, in terms of like tackling like societal issues, but tackling them in a sci-fi way. And I felt also though, but it was this like grounded mix where it felt like it was also influenced by like the newer Battlestar. And so I really liked that. But then they start going back to more familiar territory, which I can understand why on paper that would look good. And that's for me where I was like, well, I've kind of seen this before, and that's where it didn't work for me. But I know a lot of people love it.
Oh no, so they kind of like backpedal a little bit because yeah, that's I think what we've been liking about the first half. Like we talk about the main character, Sonequa Martin Green's character, Michael Burnham. She lives in a part aside from being like a human raised as a Vulcan. She lives in a gray area, just in terms of within the first 2 episodes. Like she spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it, but she tries to mutiny against her captain, and it goes very wrong.
Yeah.
And she winds up like getting a life sentence. And it's funny too because it's not like they don't set this up as like flashback montage that happens in like the first 15 minutes of an episode. Like it's in episode 2. So like you've established this group of people that gets just entirely shaken up after the second episode, and things just kind of like the bottom drops out, and it gets very interesting. So I'm kind of bummed out to hear like they kind of start to like correct course. Like I don't think it needs correcting. So hopefully it's not too much of a shift.
But I do know people who then like the second half of season 1 and on more. So it really just kind of depends on, on your individual taste. And that's the thing, kind of like, I don't know, kind of like people who like Godzilla, like everyone had, or Bond, like there's a different time when you got started. So you like certain types of stories. And, so I know some people who like Deep Space Nine. Like one of my friends, Deep Space Nine is his absolute favorite, but it's not mine. So, and I think he liked the second half of Discovery better. And so, so like I'm curious to see where this goes on the Star Trek podcast that we just started.
Well, it's also funny, like if this is going in the multiverse direction that I think it's going into, I wonder when we're going to be having the same conversation about multiverses that we were about zombies, where it's just like, okay, we can take a break on these now.
Yeah, it's, we haven't hit like our zenith for multiverses. Obviously Marvel's all in, DC's heading that way. I mean, they've done on the TV side, but we have Flashpoint coming out, and then we had what was that?
Maybe.
I mean, it's coming out. That thing. It's kind of like
It might just be called Point after they remove all the Flash from it.
It might, but it's kind of like with Death on the Nile, right? They held it for a while, then Death on the Nile came out. It's like there's too much money into this stuff. Flashpoint's gonna, maybe they'll redo some of it. I mean, they put an extra 80 million into the Snyder cut because so it may cost money for them to change it around. Because I mean, the big thing with the Snyder cut is that a lot of people thought that at least the chatter online made it seem like there was a Snyder cut, but there wasn't. There was like a work print and there was like major gaps in terms of like there wasn't like the final CG, and like it still needed a lot of work. So like it was like 50, I think it was like 50 or 80 million it needed to make. That's a lot of indie movies right there. That's a lot of indie horror movies. And so they may have to, if they're going to change around Flash, I mean, they may have to put something similar to that in it to make changes. For Death on the Nile, they didn't want to do it, so they just put it out. But we'll see. But, talking about like quality projects and being okay with it, even if it's like a trope that we're used to seeing, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I caught up on it. It's wonderful. It's as good as the hype. It's all in on the multiverse. And I didn't mind it one bit because it was such a wonderful story.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one that I went into worried that it was going to suffer from, unmanaged expectations just because of everything I was hearing about it, how excited I was by the cast and everything like that. And yeah, not only did it meet them, it somehow exceeded them. It's so good. Like everybody's good in it. Of course, Michelle Yeoh was great in it. But Jamie Lee Curtis is amazing in it. The girl who plays her daughter, I think, actually steals the show. Her name is escaping me. Stephanie Sue. She is so good in it. Of course, Ke Huy Quan from Goonies fame. He's amazing in it.
Yeah.
The great James Hong. Just everybody in this was so perfectly cast. And definitely one of those movies where it's like, you're either laughing your ass off or your eyes are welling up. Like there doesn't seem to be any in between.
Yeah. It's I mean, there's so many good things. I mean, I love the fight choreography, and then when you mix it with the multiverse concept, it's just so inventive, and it's inventive and it's unpredictable. I mean, I never could have guessed some of the things that they came up with for that, and I think that's what's so fun about it. And of course, the movie has a lot of heart. Like you have this fantastical concept, you have all the fighting, but it's like grounded in this story about this woman and wanting to, be more than she is, and, her relationship with her daughter. and with that at the core, like I said, it just makes for a perfect movie that kind of hits it on all spots. So I'm glad I finally caught up on that. I feel like I have some other movies to catch up on, but I've been pretty good lately on my new movies anyway. I feel like I've tried to avoid spoilers. At least I can go to the drive-in now. I haven't seen Maverick. I haven't seen that. Everybody says it's good.
It's so stupid. I loved it. It's so dumb. Like I don't know what to say beyond that. Like it's just if you liked the dumb fun that was the original, this is, because I just saw it over the weekend, and yeah, it's big time dopey fun.
Yeah, I want to see it, so I'm gonna try to go to the drive-in to see it.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a reporter who put out a piece a couple days ago. He cracked the code that the Top Gun movies are actually military propaganda. I hope you're sitting down for this.
My eyes rolled into the back of my head when I read this. He was like, I found the secret propaganda. You mean the movie?
The movie?
Like it's, of course it's propaganda. Are you insane? It's literally about the heroics of the U.S. military. Like,
this guy's going around like
propaganda.
This guy's going around like he broke Watergate.
I mean, and sometimes too, though, it's like sometimes it's all for clicks because, I don't know. I was telling Christy about something where it was about like, the ending for every movie explained, like things that do not need, like things that are very clear, like the ending of the Batman explained. And I'm like, no, it's, but somebody realizes that people Google like the ending explained, and so you get it for every movie now.
I would do one. I would do a listicle that was the ending of every movie explained. And for the ones I didn't know, I would just make shit up.
You know what? Actually, that kind of happens because what some sites do, and I say some like I know which sites, but honestly, I don't know offhand. But what some sites do is that they'll write the articles ahead of time, but they'll put in like temp copy, which will be like the ending of like Thor, what is it, Love and Thunder explained. And it'll say, we don't know how it ends yet, but when the movie comes out, like at this time, like we'll tell you, and here's the synopsis and here's what we know, but we'll tell you the ending soon. And so they leave that article there. And then once they know the ending, they replace the text with the ending. So like they have one of the earliest articles.
Yeah, that's no fun. No, I would just rather make shit up. Let's do that.
Let's do that. That's going to be that'll be your hook. That'll be your website. Scott explains the movies.
Let's make shit up.
Endings roulette, where it's just like
Ending roulette.
Only one of them out of like half a dozen are the actual ending, and the rest are just utter bullshit.
Yeah, well, there is that guy that his name escapes me. I'm sorry, but there's this guy on Twitter who's a screenwriter, and what he does is he'll post like fake impressions after a premiere of a movie, and like so many people will pick them up, and the thing is, it's obvious, but they have interns who are like from like whether it's like Variety or The Wrap or E, and they'll pick them up.
Ben Meeker.
That's it. Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
He does great ones. Oh, I know they've picked.
Yeah,
They've
I know
stopped now, but they finally caught on. But
yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, they printed some of his that are just.
No, he mentioned that some sites have like a rule to like not include him. Like they have to tell their interns, like, do not post this. And the things he's got away with too, it's like obviously like if he took a second to read the tweet, like it's yeah.
Brilliant.
It really is. So, okay, well, with that being said, this episode of Corpse Club has come to an end. We talked about the Overlook Film Festival again, but with more details. We talked about Offseason. We talked about Stranger Things 4. We talked about Christopher Lee, and we spent more time talking about any of those topics. We spent talking about Marvel and Star Trek, because that's what we do here on Corpse Club.
It's finally time those properties got their time in the sun.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I like too, as you're talking about like not giving money to big properties. So that's perfect, Brian.
And at least I know I'm utterly full of shit.
Yeah, of course. We want to thank Brian, our engineer, for helping us out each and every episode. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate our Corpse Club listeners, including those of you who have signed up for Corpse Club membership. Make sure to visit corpseclub.com. You can check out our latest episode. You can also sign up to become a member. You want to hear us talk about Star Trek for an entire episode? We can do it. Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Every rating and review really helps. You can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, Amazon, and all of your favorite podcast providers. If you want to get in touch, reach out anytime. We're at contact@corpseclub.com. On Twitter, we're at Daily Dead News. We're at Corpse Club. And on Instagram and Facebook, we are under Corpse Club as well. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, stay scary.